Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover Lounge. We have a special one today. As you can see, we have a special guest we only see like once every blue moon. He goes by the name of Manny Megz, and we're here with the GrimeTyme interview.
Yes.
Yo, how you feeling?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed?
I really felt like I should have hired some kind of helper, assistant, because
Yeah.
it's a lot. The merch, the music part of it, the release part of it, post-release video, it's so much to handle, but that's the life I choose,
Right.
So I just gotta take it.
And we're going to get into all that good stuff. We're going to talk about the process of starting with the album and now with the release coming up soon. So I have Daniela ask the first question for us.
Okay. So what was the inspiration behind GrimeTyme?
My mental state, kind of. Just where I was at mentally. I think it was my first time living alone. So I kept having these thoughts of when my house got broken into beforehand and what would happen if someone broke into my house now, and when you have a house, it's different, and when you're alone in it, it's kind of you kind of start getting nightmares about that shit when you've been through it already, because it was a new city, it was so much I had built up, and then just years of traumatic shit that I kind of just flipped into attack mode on those feelings.
Okay.
So that's why I kind of instead of doing some kind of sad album, I flipped it and kind of more so embraced that feeling. So yeah.
Yeah, this album sounds a lot different than Prime. I'm going to be honest.
Got it.
Yeah, so this album is completely different from Prime, and you said you went to a different mental state at that time, but were you able to flip it?
Prime was purely off the energy of me and Amazing, that it was just it was purely that energy. When we met up, it was just that's how we felt when we were around each other.
Right.
Very, very upbeat, very soulful, and also that was kind of my sound up until now, right? So when I started making beats, I started with lo-fi, and then I went into soulful boom bap shit, and I kept going with that into Prime. This time it was I just felt every big artist changes their sound consistently. And
Definitely.
I felt it was just time for me to change. It was coming up on 1 year of me doing music. So I felt all right, it's time to evolve into something else now,
Definitely.
And then a year from now, it's going to be time to evolve into something else. That's kind of how I felt about music. So I was all right, let me just flip this in a whole different direction, and challenge my listener, not just do something that's kind of microwavable, not make something and then be in a week I'm dropping this. I can't do that, because it's my art and I'm fully invested into it, and I don't care if it's one person or a million people. It's my art, it's
Right.
always going to be the same. So I really care about my art. So that's why I felt all right, I have to challenge the listener at this point and
Right.
completely change the sound.
Yeah.
And it's worked. People haven't even heard the project, and it's kind of taking on a life of its own. So yeah, I felt I made a good move off changing my sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely did.
Thank you, sir.
How did you pick who you were going to feature with?
It was kind of based off people that I wanted to hear music like that from. I always wanted to hear Cash on some shit like that. I always wanted to hear Spiritual and Ray on some shit like that. It was just based off that. It wasn't I haven't worked with them yet. Like, there's so many people I haven't worked with that I wanted to work with, but I felt like they wouldn't fit this. This was the first time I had to cut songs off an album. Wow. Which is so tough for me because I had a track with Tommy Will, Marley being amazing on one track all together.
Wow.
And it's such a dope track. It just doesn't fit the project. And like being about your art comes with its consequences, you know? Like being so about your art, you have to make bad decisions like that. So yeah. I mean, not bad, but just like necessary decisions that like are harsh to realize.
Because you've been sitting on it so long, you're like, I just want to drop this. Like, I just want it to be part of the project.
and that's also a thing too, is like having music, like holding on to music for so long and not dropping it, you kind of get tired of it. Yeah. So that's like really a test of like someone's musical taste is like, if you can still bring yourself back to that sound without changing it. Because I wanted to change it so many times, but I had to keep telling myself like, no, this is what I'm going after. I have to finish it out. And even if that means like cutting some of the best songs out of it, like that's what it has to be. Right. I cut 6 songs out of this project. Oh wow. Yeah. Wow.
For somebody that doesn't cut music, that
at all. You're like, and if I cut it, I release it. Right. So now, like, this is my first time sitting on music.
It's just like on a vault.
It's different. It's different.
That's crazy. Yeah. What musical influences were you listening to while prepping for this album?
A lot of just weird music. A lot of like I'd come across samples and not even want to sample them. I'd just take that as inspiration. A lot of European synthesizer shit. Okay. A lot of like no matter what project I'm into, like Hiatus Coyote always fits. Like whatever I'm going for because they're just the definition of like super artistic music. So it was like European, like older synthesizer music, Hiatus Coyote, and kind of like To Pimp a Butterfly a little bit. Okay. Yeah, like in the narration aspect of it. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It wasn't. I always try to make things so logical and shit, and I just can't. It's all just a feeling. So when I try to explain the feeling, like it never happens because like art just comes out of emotion, you know. Yeah, like I can't tell you like I picked this person because they do this well, and I picked this sample because it fits, like, you know, like I just can't. I literally cannot do it. So this whole album's based off purely emotion. There was no logic in it. There was no structure to it. Right. And it seems structured, but there's no structure to it. Like everything was kind of just organically put together. And I think those are the best albums. Yeah. No, I was about to say that too. That's kind of how it went. I didn't go too methodical with it. That's more so the rollout shit that I'm like that with, not the music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what was the Japanese behind it?
You mean like
why did you pick it for the screening, like the track list?
So I have a Japanese artist on the project, and this was my first time working with, well, not the first time, but my first time working with someone that there was like a language barrier. So I felt like it was really dope to kind of embrace that part of it, because it was just something I never thought would happen. Like I never thought I'd work with like a Japanese artist only rapping in Japanese, you know? Right. But like that kind of took me into a certain aesthetic that I really liked, and I kind of just stuck with it. Yeah.
So speaking of like the Japanese artist, like how did his song fit the track list?
You know what's so funny? I still don't think it fits. But I don't think it fits in the way of like sonically. Okay. But I think it fits in the way of attitude wise. Okay. Like he comes on the track with the same presence is like the rest of the guys do.
Okay.
So I think that was really important for me. Like, and this was the first time like this project was the first time for so many things, but it was the first time that I had to pick and choose shit.
Right.
And that one I couldn't let go of. Like,
You're like,
I could not. It's dope, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the main reason. The main reason is just because it felt right. Like it felt right just leaving it in there because it's a shift sonically. So yeah, it doesn't fit, but it has certain characteristics that would fit the rest of the project.
Right.
You know, like the other ones didn't at all. This one is different, but in its own way that fits the project. So that's
Okay, that makes sense. I remember when you played it for us, it was kind of like, do you know what he's saying? He's like, nah, but it's fire. I know.
Yeah.
You know, it's my beat, so it's fire.
Bro, and it's funny because when he sent me his lyrics, I asked him if he could translate them.
Okay.
And they're really dope, actually.
Are they?
Yeah, it's very there's a lot of like symbolism and shit.
Okay.
And a lot of Japanese like culture inside of it.
That's dope.
Yeah. I'm super happy about that track. Like, it's one of my favorites.
And how did that connection come about?
So I was on Instagram, and so this was like before Prime.
Okay.
I had an MPC 2000 XL, and it's like that's known as being like a not super old machine, but it's a little bit older. So I needed I wanted to find someone that could change out like the floppy disk drive for like an SD disk drive, and so I just went on Instagram looking for someone that could do it.
Okay.
I found someone that could do it, and then on their profile they had a Japanese producer on it, and they were like, he's working with it great, like it looks great, check him out. I went to check him out, and he was really, really dope, so I followed him, and so he released this track with the guy that's on the project.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And it was the same feeling that like Woo gives me.
Okay.
Or like that, like
it was that powerful, that movement?
Like it was just straight, like he has presence on a track. And you don't know what he's saying, but like you just know it's impactful because of his delivery.
Right.
You know? So I had to be like, yo, I need you on a track. And he was super open to it. Like he was like, yeah, I fuck with your shit. And the DMs kind of went about like, I was like blessed enough that he either is transcribing it into English and then sending it to me, or he knows a little bit of English. I'm not sure yet.
Right.
But yeah, like he's super dope.
That's
Super
dope.
dope. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. What was your thought process behind the individual merch ideas?
I just want to be different, you know. Like most of the shit I do is like I want to do something that's like I just want to do something that's like timeless, you know.
Right.
That someone is gonna be like, yo, Manny Megz did that already, you know, and not in like a cocky way or a fucked up way, just like I want to be the leader of a different era.
Definitely.
Like I feel like right now, Tucson's in like a new era of music.
Definitely.
And I want to be able to lead that, you know. So the shit I'm doing with my rollouts, with my merch, with collaborations, with like just the different shit that I'm doing with this project and moving forward, like I want that to be like the mark. Like you have to meet this mark or you can't really do shit else. Like your shit's gonna be whack if you don't do that. Because now I'm making everyone work.
Right.
You know, like now, like you have to come out with some dope shit, or you're just gonna get left behind.
Definitely.
And that's ultimately gonna push Tucson to be like, okay, I care about the quality of an album rollout. I care about the quality of merch. I care about the quality of music, and that's only just gonna elevate us. So I'm not saying no one's done it before because it's been done before, but like I'm just here to take it to a new level and bring my people with me. You know, like tell them like, yo, if you need help with the rollout, just hit me. Or if you need help with like some beats, just hit me. Like there's this is all done for Tucson. It's not really for me. Like, I really just want to put Tucson in a different place.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool because seeing you collab with like Cash, hearing you collab with Marley, and like how they're so willing to be like, because technically they'd be considered like the older generation, the older era of music, but then being able to be like, yo, this kid Manny is like that dude. So for him to like, just to have that like collaboration going on is like big, is huge.
Bro, I tell Cash this every time I talk to him, bro. Like, I'm like, yo, I used to listen to you in high school. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So to me, like, I had to, like,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because when I was first sending Cash beats, they were like weird shit. Like, it was me trying to like find the GrimeTyme sound. So by the time I found it, everything was cool.
Right.
But like before that, it was like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I listened back to those beats the other day and they were like weird. And it's just nice to like be able to have that now. I can say like I have a slapper with Cash. Like I have some shit with Marley. I have some shit with Tommy. Like and it feels good because they are the older generation, but they prove my point.
Right.
Of like boom bap never left. Like boom bap was here in Cash's era.
Right.
Boom bap was here in Tommy's era. And like boom bap's gonna just continue to stay. And I'm bringing a new era of like being a producer. Like I can get all of these rappers and bring them back to one era.
Yeah.
And just start a new era with that sound.
Facts.
So that's what I'm going for, you know? Like I'm not here just leasing beats this is not to press anyone doing that because I respect it, but like I'm just on a whole different thing now.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do the normal shit anymore. Like I want to test the boundaries of shit and see how far I can go. And I really think like all the rappers involved with this project, like really, really, really helped me do it because I would not be able to do it without them.
Yeah.
And let alone have the cosign of like these legendary ass Tucson rappers, you know? So,
yeah. Even the Pike cosign in the Pike.
Man.
You brought Pike out to help you with the album. Can you talk about that real quick?
Well, bro, it's so funny because I'm working on some shit right now. And I can't really say much about it, but like I asked Pike if he wants to be involved with it, and he's like, I'm done. like after this album, like yeah, you got it. So I really did bring Pike out of like I don't know retirement,
yeah.
or, you know what I mean, but Pike's a legend, man. Like
he is.
This project definitely wouldn't have gone the way it did without Pike. So yeah, I mean it kind of just happened. It's another one of those things that like organically happened. It didn't just, I didn't really, like I asked him, but he more so took on the role of like being very involved with it, which I was scared to ask of him. I just wanted to see if he could help me out. But he just ended up like pretty much A&Ring the whole shit, which was like amazing. And shit, he's good for those little ass details that I miss, you know, like he's good for all that shit, and I picked that up along the way. So I definitely learned a lot from Pike, just this project alone, let alone like the while that I've known him.
Right. That's
Pike,
so dope.
Pike's a legend, man.
Yeah, shout out Pike, man.
Shout out
I know
Pike.
Pike's watching. He's a Patreon as well, so a patron. So shout out Pike one time.
sir.
So speaking of Patreon, if you're not on there, get on there so you can see some behind the scenes of this
I'm
Manny
on there.
Megz GrimeTyme interview. So and Manny's in it too.
Yes, sir.
So you know the vibes.
I have my question, but I lost it.
I hate when that happens.
What are some things that you want your listeners to take from this album?
Shit. I don't want it to be like I want them to take what they take. Like I have no desire for them to be like, yeah, like this is how it should make you feel. Like I don't want to make music like that. Like I want to make music that like you go home with and you're like, what the fuck, you know? And then like days later you're like, wait, so did this happen because of this? Or like, you know, like music like that is the best. Like I don't want them to really just stay stuck with one feeling or take one thing out of it. Like, right. and I don't want to say anything that's gonna be like, oh, okay, this is what it means,
right?
Because it means whatever you think it means, you know. So that's like this project. Past projects, it's certain things, you know. But this project is just it's whatever you feel, whatever you take from it. Like I'm fine with.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting how you approach music as art. A lot of people forget that part about music and how, you know, you're doing the one-of-one pieces for the merch. Like I mean, people do it, but nobody's thinking about it in that sense of like music can be transcribed into art. Like you can wear music, you could draw music. And I want to know how you got into that frame of mind. Like how young were you, or when did you start thinking that way?
I didn't really. It was never really a time. I think it was everything I do, I would want to be done from another artist, and they just never did it, you know, or they did it, but I didn't like how they did it. Like that's all of my art comes from that feeling of like, definitely. I wanted Kendrick to do exclusive shit, but he's such a star that's not a good approach for him, because you're limiting your reach. You can't do that as a superstar.
Right.
I'm in the stage where I'm completely underground, and I'm so underground that like you have to pay attention, or like you're gonna miss out.
Definitely.
Everything I do is because like I would like to see it done. Right. So it was never anything I picked up, or it was never anything that all just snapped in at once. Like it's all kind of just organic shit. Like I never planned this out. I was just like one day like, and I'm not saying I invented it.
Yeah, no.
But I did it in my own way.
Definitely.
And I just did it because I was like, yo, no one's doing this right now. Like no one in Arizona is trying to like push the bar of like what you can do as an artist. Yeah. Not just like career wise or like money wise, but like no one's pulling the art out of music anymore. Like no like everyone drops that album, does some t-shirts, maybe some vinyls, and that's it. There's nothing to take out of it like it used to be with fucking Woo, you know, or it used to be with like Gangstar. Yep. Like there was a feeling attached, and they did some certain shit that like no one's really done. Like I just want to bring that feeling back. Right. You know.
I think you're executing very well, to be honest with you. Like,
thank you.
Somebody that grew up in 2000, I feel like old, but I mean, I'm just trying to show how young I am. There was nobody that's like done that as far as like artists that I looked up to, you know what I mean? And being able to be a friend and also like a fan to watch you do this stuff and be part of it is like awesome. Like
that's dope, so bro. Dope. Thank you.
So kudos to you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
Are you planning on making any more music videos for the album?
Oh, there's so much shit coming out. Like it's funny because Prime was like rolled out in the way it was rolled out, and then after the album came out, it was kind of just like, all right, it's out, you know? Because again, you have to remember that was my first, like that was not my first album, but my first time releasing an album with a rollout. Yeah. I never thought there was a post-rollout, you know? Like, I just didn't think of that. Like, I was like, all right, here's the album. And then I sat there and I was like, fuck, like, what's next, you know? Right. And I was also in the mind frame of, like, I just want to be on another sound because I've been doing this shit for so long that like I just want to hop into some other shit. This one, like the rollout is like 25% of it. The music is 25 and post rollout is 50% of it.
Wow.
So like everything post rollout is about to be just like crazy. Like,
can you hint at it?
I can tell you some shit.
Okay.
So I have 2 more music videos.
Nice.
And I'm doing a short film.
Wow.
And then and there may, and I'm not just saying this because like to make it like mysterious.
right.
But I really mean this. Like there may or may not be a deluxe version.
Oh wow.
Just depending on like if my brain is like I can stay stuck with this project or
Right.
not. Because right now I'm still kind of in that sound, but I could like tomorrow be like, I'm off it. You know? So like, yeah. So I mean that's and there's more shit. I can't tell you the rest of the shit.
Right.
But
No.
that's the basis of what's about to happen.